All right, so this is the Atoto S8 MS edition. This is the newer version of the S8. This here is S8 Ultra. This is a much more cost-effective version, which so far I'm actually really impressed with because for the money, you're getting pretty much everything I loved about the Ultra, but with some cooler styling, honestly. First of all, the thing I want to point out is just the size of this thing. You see the back of this sticks out more. The new MS edition is much thinner. You see it's really just like the screen and then a little bit sticking out of the back. Part of that is because all the ports are on the back of the S8 Ultra. There are some breakout ones like the USB and everything, but a lot of the things are built in as opposed to here where most of your things are all in these breakout cables, which I like better because first of all, you have more room behind here to hide things behind your dashboard. And I like that I can fish these into different places like the glove box in my car or something like that, where maybe I'll want to have access to these ports instead of having to take apart my dash every time I want to like change the microphone or something like that. I have another one of these in my car right now. I actually have a bunch of Atoto devices that I've been testing and playing with. This is my older S8 Ultra that I just kind of use as a test bed right now. It uses the same processor. It's the UIS 7862, I believe. It has the same 4 gig of RAM, so actually performance is almost identical. The only thing about this is that it's got less storage, 32 instead of 64 gig, which really isn't a problem because you do have expandable storage with a storage card. And honestly, aside from like map data and some downloaded media, I really haven't used the storage on this a lot. I usually stream things, and if I need storage, I have the memory card slot. And speaking of cards, you have a SIM card on the front of the S8 Ultra, and that's one of the features that the Ultra has over the other ones. But I was kind of surprised to see that the MS edition has in its breakout cable this LTE modem slot where you can put a card. Sorry, I'm doing this one-handed while I hold my phone. And I was a little surprised to find that instead of having a nano SIM card slot, it's actually a micro. So I had to get a plastic adapter to put around it, which is not a big deal. Most of the time when you get a SIM card, it comes in like a thing you pop out. All right, so right now in that SIM card slot, I have a visible SIM by Verizon. Now, technically, Verizon SIMs are not supposed to be compatible with this. It's really supposed to be only for GSM LTE. But if you use this Add APN app, which I highly recommend if you want to use visible SIM, you can manually put in the APN information, and then it actually does work. As you see, I'm not running Wi-Fi right now. This is just connected to the visible SIM. And I'm going to do a little speed test. And let's see what we got here. Okay, now keep in mind this is inside. In my office, I've got a lot of computer equipment around here that's interfering, gonna have some RF interference. So outside my car, the signal will be a little bit better, but about 20 meg down is not so unheard of. Maybe if I were to unfurl this LTE antenna and put it somewhere outside or whatever, maybe it would do better. But the truth is, while I'm driving, usually about 20 megabit is pretty normal and plenty for whatever you need to do while you're driving, as far as being able to download streaming information, things like that, video content, anything along those lines is really more than enough. This is pretty good, and you don't have to use your phone, so I'm a big fan of that. One thing that I actually really, really liked, because no other Atoto device that I've used did this out of the box. All my other devices, including the S8 Ultra, had this terrible bug in Bluetooth where if you connect, you can connect multiple devices, but if I were, let's say, to turn off my OnePlus 10 right now, which I have right here that I'm using, if I were to turn that off and, or let's say I'm driving and my wife has the Galaxy S10, and then she gets in the car next time, it's going to continue looking for my phone and won't ever connect to her phone unless she goes manually into this option and then clicks on it. And that's obviously very, very frustrating. So I had to, I complained to Atoto about this on the other device that I've used, and they actually made me a special firmware update that would allow it to look for the next phone if the previous one isn't found, which is really how it should work. So I don't know why it doesn't come like that out of the box. I'm happy to say that this is the first Atoto device. This Atoto S8 MS is the first one I've ever used out of 4 or 5 Atoto devices, 5, that I've ever gotten that actually did this out of the box. Watch, I'm going to simulate, I'm going to turn off Bluetooth on my on my on the OnePlus 10, which we're connected to right now. Turn it off, so simulate that I've left the car. Now I'm going to simulate turning off the key by removing the ignition wire. And then I'm going to pretend I got back in the car. I'll say my wife is now driving with her S8. I'm sorry, with the Galaxy S10. Now put the power back on for the key. Should come back on. Oh, I better put it all the way. Ouch. Oh, hold on a second. I pinched the wire. Give me one moment. There. Okay, comes back on. Oh yeah, by the way, guys, if anyone has never used an Android radio before, this is the instant on feature where it does not shut off all the way. It just goes into sleep, and then when you turn the car back on, it comes back to where you left off. That is, obviously you don't want to have the whole thing boot up again every time you start the car, because that could take 20 seconds. But if you're worried about draining your battery, if you leave it for, it doesn't take that much battery to stay on. And if you leave it for 3 days, it does shut itself completely off. So you don't have to worry about that. Meanwhile, if I go over to my connected phones, you'll see that my Galaxy S10 is now the one connected. It knows the OnePlus 10 was not there, and so it moved on to the next one in the list. So now if my wife's driving with her S10 and she comes home, next time I drive with my OnePlus 10, it will switch over to mine, which is what it should do. It's silly that the other ones didn't do it. I'm happy to say the MS edition does do it. I noticed physically in the front, you see it's got these rounded buttons. The other S8, even though this is the much more expensive version, these are squared buttons. I don't know if you can see it in the light here. And it's got all these things out here, the SIM slot, the memory card slot, everything's out here. Auxiliary plug makes it look much more like utilitarian, whereas this one's a little bit more stylish. I like this one a lot better. I highly recommend it for the price, honestly. This is a lot better than their A6PF. And while the S8 Ultra does have some features that this doesn't, like having more storage, it has the gesture thing here. I really think I would recommend this one. This is really, I think, the best Atoto device I've ever tried so far. I'm going to go ahead and install it in a car, but I just wanted to give you guys my quick preview.